This is Community Radio Networks. On this Wednesday, the 17th of April, welcome to the show. Let's get you all the information that you need to know to take on the day today. All coming up here for you, and we'll start with the world news. This is Community Radio Networks, the world news read by Shabnam Madgil. The Arabian Peninsula has been hit by unprecedented rainfall and floods, shutting schools and grounding flights, with parts of the desert nation, United Arab Emirates, receiving 10 inches of rain in 24 hours. In Oman, at least 18 people have died in recent days because of the severe weather. The storm swamped roadways and created dangerous conditions across the region, a normally arid part of the world that is unaccustomed to intense rain and flash flooding. Dubai's airport advised passengers early this morning not to travel to the airport unless absolutely necessary. The National Center of Meteorology in Abu Dhabi has said the rain in the UAE surpassed anything since records began in 1949, when the area was still a British protectorate and before the discovery of oil. And it is torrential rains across the United Arab Emirates that have prompted flight cancellations, forced schools to shut, and brought traffic to a standstill. With global warming threatening a surge in heat-related deaths in the UAE, Dubai's media office dubbed the downpours rains of goodness despite flooded houses and overflowing swimming pools. The latest storms followed heavy rains earlier this year. Also, the UAE government issued warnings ahead of the heavy rains, asking people to stay at home and only leave in cases of extreme necessity. It later extended the remote working until today for all federal employees. In just one day, 2 years of rain has fallen in Dubai, triggering flash flooding that crippled a city not accustomed to this rain. The desert city has seen 6.26 inches of rain as of last night, and the country's National Emergency Crisis and Disaster Management Authority asked all residents to stay at home. Dubai's major international airport diverting all incoming flights since yesterday as heavy rains lashed the city, causing widespread flooding. The world's busiest air hub for international passengers, which had been expecting more than 100 flights last night, earlier briefly halted its operations in the chaos caused by this storm. Dubai has been paralyzed by the torrential rain that caused floods around the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain, and images showing planes taxiing across an apron, flooding with standing water. Flagship shopping centers, the Dubai Mall and the Mall of the Emirates, both suffered flooding, and water was ankle deep in at least one Dubai metro station. Roads and residential communities also suffered heavy flooding, and many residents reported leaks from roofs, doors and windows. Some inland areas of the UAE recorded more than 3.2 inches of rain over 24 hours. Israel and Iran traded threats after Tehran's first ever direct attack on its arch foe sharply heightened regional tensions as the Gaza war ground on with no truce in sight. Iran's President Ibrahim Raisi warning that the slightest action against Iran's interests will definitely be met with a severe, extensive and painful response. After its first ever attack on Israel, Iran has now unveiled Arman anti-ballistic missile system and Azaraksh defense system to show its military might. Iran, which surprises many, including the US, with its relentless attack on Israel, has a rapidly growing arms industry. And the reporter has said that Iran is turning into a large-scale exporter of low-cost and high-tech weapons. Details of Iran's defense and weapons systems are little known due to secrecy maintained, but reports say that Iran has 22 air defense systems as of last year. Over the last day, Israel's military says it struck more than 40 terror targets from the air as it continues to pound central Gaza. Negotiations between Israel and Hamas to secure truce in Gaza and a hostage exchange have stalled, according to Qatar's Prime Minister. UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has called on his Israeli counterpart Benjamin Netanyahu to allow calm heads to prevail following the attack from Iran. In a call yesterday, he stressed that significant escalation was in no one's interest and would only deepen insecurity in the Middle East. Israel has clearly decided to retaliate against Iran for the missiles and drone attacks, according to Britain's Foreign Minister David Cameron during a visit to Israel, the starkest warning yet of another volley coming in regional escalation. Israeli President Isaac Herzog held talks with the British and German foreign ministers in Jerusalem, calling on the international community to work defiantly. Russian President Putin is warned of a risk of catastrophic escalation in the Middle East as he urged restraint in a phone call with the Iranian counterpart Ibrahim Raisi. Turkish President Erdogan has said that Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli leadership are solely responsible for the recent escalation of tensions in the Middle East. And an Israeli airstrike, meanwhile, killed a Hezbollah commander in Lebanon. This was confirmed by the IDF. Ismail Yusuf Baz, a commander of Hezbollah's coastal sector, killed in the area of Ain Ibel in Lebanon. And White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan released a statement that new sanctions will be placed against Iran in the wake of the regime's attacks against Israel last weekend. And these new sanctions come amid Republican criticism of the Biden administration for purportedly not being tough enough on Iran, after the White House extended a waiver that allowed Iran to access to $10 billion of previously escrowed funds in November of last year. As he kicked off a series of events in the crucial battleground state of Pennsylvania yesterday, President Biden freely ripped into his nemesis. From his hometown, Scranton, he chided Donald Trump about his past tax plan for giving tax breaks to billionaires and his comments about Social Security, joked about his personal financial predicament, accused him of ballooning the federal debt, razzed him for suggesting that injecting bleach could battle COVID-19, and called him Donald Herbert Hoover Trump. What Biden didn't do is touch the lowest hanging fruit of all, the fact that at the same time Trump was sitting in a New York City courtroom, the first president or former president in history to stand criminal trial. The task of finding 12 impartial jurors was off to a bumpy start yesterday as attorneys for Donald Trump, a former president known for his unfiltered use of social media, pressed New Yorkers about whether they could fairly judge him. While Donald Trump sat in that Manhattan criminal court yesterday for the second day of jury selection in his hush money trial, the justices of the Supreme Court heard oral arguments in a different case that could have significant implications for one of the other criminal prosecutions the former president faces, and the case under consideration in Washington, D.C. was brought by Joseph Fisher, a former Pennsylvania police officer who faces up to 20 years in prison for allegedly participating in the mob of Trump supporters who stormed the U.S. Capitol on the 6th of January in 2021. And it is former President Trump who has been back in court while leaving court yesterday. He repeated his assertion that the judge is biased against him. The 77-year-old Donald Trump faces 34 felony counts of falsifying business records to conceal payments to Stormy Daniels. She has said she and Trump had sex in 2006, not long after Melania Trump gave birth to their son Barron, but Trump has long denied that claim. The former president left the courtroom after a long day of jury selection in his New York criminal hush money case yesterday, and there will be no proceedings today. But a large group of potential jurors has been asked to come to the court. And it is presumptive Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump who's scheduled to meet with the Polish president Andrzej Duda today in New York. The planned dinner meeting, confirmed by a person familiar with the matter, comes as European leaders prepare for the possibility that Trump might win the November election and return to the White House. Leaders of NATO countries are especially concerned, given Trump's long history of critical comments about the key Western alliance, even after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The University of Southern California cancelled a commencement speech by its 2024 valedictorian who has publicly supported Palestinians, citing security concerns, a rare decision that was praised by several pro-Israel groups and lambasted by free speech advocates and the country's largest Muslim civil rights organization. Andrew Guzman, the provost and the senior vice president for academic affairs for the private university in Los Angeles, said in a statement, the debate over the selection of the valedictorian Asna Tabassum, who is Indian American, to be given on the 10th of May, took an alarming tenor. Her speaking would have presented substantial security risks for the event, which draws 65,000 people to the campus. What was supposed to be a time of celebration for Asna It is this valedictorian that now has turned to disappointment after the university denied her the chance to give a speech at commencement over security concerns. The University of Southern California, citing safety concerns and passions around the latest Middle East conflict. And he was a fake priest who was wanted for stealing from several churches in Dallas and Houston. And now we've learned he's finally been busted in California. Truly was a criminal that struck nationally. Police reports say the 45-year-old Malin Rostas, also known as Father Martin, was arrested in Riverside County, California, after being on the run for over 1 year. He is well known in Texas, disguised himself as Father Martin, and was able to gain access to churches in Houston as well as 5 in Dallas area, including a Farmers Branch church. The Dallas Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott is no longer facing a sexual assault lawsuit. Reports say a judge signed off on dropping the Dallas County lawsuit yesterday. The case has been dismissed without prejudice, meaning the current case against Prescott has ended, but allows for the case to be refiled in the future. Dallas police have released the name of the Wilmer Hutchins High School student accused of shooting a classmate last week. Arrest documents show that Jacarian Rhodes Ewing was arrested at the school shortly after the gunfire that left another student wounded, and he remains jailed on charges of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and of the unlawful carrying of a weapon in a prohibited place. Following a spike during the pandemic, the number of homicides in major cities is falling at its quickest pace in decades. Murders have declined by 20% in more than 200 cities during the first 3 months of this year compared to the same period last year. And Boston has seen the largest drop in homicides of any major city in the analysis, down 82% from 11 at this point last year to 2 this year. And murder is down 50% or more in San Antonio, Columbus, Durham, Fort Worth, and Virginia Beach. Venezuela has ordered its embassy in Ecuador closed in the wake of a raid on the Mexican embassy in Quito. And after 2 months of delay, House Republicans have delivered articles of impeachment against Alejandro Mayorkas, the Homeland Security Secretary, to the Senate, as they demanded a full trial of the first sitting cabinet secretary to be impeached by Congress. House Republicans sent to the Senate 2 articles of impeachment against Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, a step that launches a trial in the Senate as GOP lawmakers seek to highlight President Biden's handling of immigration policy. Defiant and determined House Speaker Mike Johnson pushed back against mounting Republican anger over his proposed U.S. aid package to Ukraine, Israel, and other allies, and rejected a call to step aside or risk a vote to oust him from office. He referred to himself as a wartime Speaker of the House and indicated in his strongest self-defense yet that he would press forward with the U.S. national security aid package, a situation that would force him to rely on Democrats to help pass it over objections from his weakened majority. And a lack of air defenses meant Ukraine was powerless to prevent a Russian airstrike that destroyed the biggest power plant in the Kyiv region, said President Zelensky. Russia fired 11 missiles towards that power plant, and Ukrainian air defenses downed the first 7 missiles, but the next 4 completely destroyed the plant. Ukrainian President Zelensky is calling for more air defense support from Western partners after this Russian missile attack killed at least 10 people this morning. And he said in Kyiv yesterday that he would seek to convene a meeting of the NATO-Ukraine Council to call for improved protection of his country's airspace. Astronomers identified the largest stellar black hole yet discovered in the Milky Way, with a mass 33 times that of the Sun. The black hole, named Gaia BH3, was discovered by chance from data collected by the European Space Agency's Gaia mission, according to an astronomer from the National Center for Scientific Research at the Observatoire de Paris. And while with the Paris Olympic Games 100 days away, police carried out a large-scale eviction at France's biggest squat in the south of the capital. Authorities, including dozens of gendarmes, cleared out the makeshift camp at an abandoned bus company headquarters in Vitry-sur-Seine. And that happened this morning, and the camp had become home to about 450 migrants, with images of the eviction spreading rapidly across social media. And aid workers are concerned that the broader effort by Paris authorities to clear out migrants and other people sleeping rough in the capital before the Summer Olympics is troubling, as those evicted are not provided longer-term housing assistance. German authorities conducted a large-scale raid against an international human smuggling gang early this morning. More than 1,000 police officers searched dozens of homes, stores and offices across western and southern Germany and detained 10 suspects, including 2 lawyers. A total of 38 suspected gang members, as well as 147 other people who allegedly paid to be smuggled by it, are being investigated. The U.S. 7th Fleet has said that a Navy P-8A Poseidon has flown through the Taiwan Strait this morning, a day after U.S. and Chinese defense chiefs held their first talk since November 22 in an effort to reduce regional tensions. The patrol and reconnaissance plane transited the Taiwan Strait in international airspace. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the World News on Community Radio Networks. Myanmar's ousted former leader Aung San Suu Kyi has been transferred from prison to another location. A local media citing the military junta spokeswoman is reporting that the reason for the move was concern for the 78-year-old's health in view of the high temperatures in the capital where she was being held. It was not certain whether she had been taken to another prison or transferred to house arrest. The junta had not informed her lawyers of the plan or of a new location. Thailand and New Zealand have agreed to resume direct flights after the pandemic shut air connectivity as leaders of the two countries vow to triple bilateral trade in the next 2 decades. The two also prioritize visa facilitation to achieve the goals of having 100,000 New Zealanders visit Thailand and 40,000 Thai tourists travel to New Zealand by next year. The Ram temple in Ayodhya witnessed a remarkable event as a beam of sunlight known as the Surya Tilak was directed onto the forehead of the Ram Lala idol during the celebration of Ram Navami this morning. And this unique occurrence took place using a system involving mirrors and lenses installed in the temple. A team of scientists commissioned by the temple trust utilized their expertise to precisely illuminate the forehead of Ram Lala with a ray of sunlight. Security forces say they've killed 29 Maoist rebels in the central Indian state of Chhattisgarh, days before the country goes to polls, and the incident took place very close to the Bastar region, which is a stronghold of the rebels. Addressing a public rally, Prime Minister Modi said today is also the historical occasion of Ram Navami. After a wait of 500 years, Lord Ram has finally been seated in his grand temple, and in just a few minutes his birth anniversary was celebrated there with the Surya Tilak. Congress leader Rahul Gandhi and Samajwadi Party President Akhilesh Yadav jointly addressed the media in Ghaziabad. And on the upcoming Lok Sabha elections, Congress MP Rahul Gandhi says, "I do not do prediction of seats, but in 15 to 20 days ago, I was thinking the BJP would win around 180 seats, but now I think they will get 150. Ahead of the first phase of polling of the Lok Sabha election, Prime Minister Modi addressed a rally in Bengal's Balarghat, and at the rally he said that Mamata Banerjee attempted to stop Ram Navami celebrations. Earlier he visited Bihar and held campaign rallies in Gaya and Purnia. And this marks his 3rd visit within 13 days, and for Purnia it marks a decade. Prime Minister Modi aims to woo voters ahead of the polls for NDA candidates Jitan Ram Manji and Santosh Kushwaha. It is Prime Minister Modi today seeking votes for the BJP in both seats of Tripura for the country's security and further development, while addressing this massive rally at the Swami Vivekanand Stadium in Agartala, by which the vocal campaign for West Tripura parliamentary constituency came to an end for the polling on Friday. And BJD President and Odisha Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik will also contest from the Kantabanji Assembly constituency in Bolangir district of Western Odisha, along with his traditional Hinjali seat in Ganjam district. Alleging that the BJP has made the entire country a detention camp, West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee today said the CAA and the NRC will be scrapped if opposition bloc India forms a government at the centre. She was addressing an election rally in support of 4 TMC candidates in Assam and alleged there will be no democracy in elections if Prime Minister Modi returns to power for the 3rd consecutive term. Indo-Canadian singer and rapper AP Dhillon has posted pictures and videos to show his performance at the Coachella festival. And it is the singer defending his action by posting more videos of singers breaking their guitar during this performance. Some are criticizing him for not respecting the musical instrument. It is the Vicky Gupta and Sagar Pal from Bihar who allegedly fired at actor Salman Khan's Bandra home, and they were arrested in Bhuj in Gujarat yesterday. A Mumbai crime branch led by Inspector Dayan Nayak has produced them before the 37th Metropolitan Magistrate, and the two are said to have told the police that jailed gangster Lawrence Bishnoi's brother had hired them. Shah Rukh Khan, the charismatic co-owner of the Kolkata Knight Riders, took centre stage to uplift the spirits of his team with a stirring post-match speech in the wake of a nail-biting defeat against the Rajasthan Royals at the Eden Gardens yesterday. And the Bangladesh Cricket Board today appointed former Pakistan leg spinner and World Cup winner Mushtaq Ahmed as the Tigers spin bowling coach ahead of the ICC T20 World Cup this year. And in 2021, the New Zealand cricket team abruptly withdrew from a tour of Pakistan due to security concerns. However, they have since visited the country twice last year. With less than 2 months remaining until the ICC T20 World Cup commences in the West Indies and the USA, from the 1st to the 29th of June, New Zealand are scheduled to play 5 T20Is in Pakistan to finalize their squad for the prestigious event. The National Accountability Bureau today gave a clean chit to former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif in the Tosha Khana vehicle reference. The Tosha Khana is a government department that stores gifts given to rulers, parliamentarians, bureaucrats and officials by heads of other governments, states and foreign dignitaries. And it is also the Pakistan Meteorological Department predicting thunderstorms and rainfall in the Karachi division and other parts of Sindh from today until the 19th. In a weather outlook issued, the department said that a westerly wave was affecting Balochistan, which is reeling from floods following heavy rainfall. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all I have in the world news for you, but I do have your financial news coming up in a separate segment. Just stay with us right here on the airwaves of Community Radio Networks. Your financial news is coming up next. We start your financial news with the foreign currency exchange rates, and the Indian rupee today is at 83.67, Pakistani rupee 278.28, Bangladeshi taka at 109.67, Sri Lankan rupee 301.76, the Nepalese rupee at 133.93, the British pound at 0.80, the euro at 0.94, the Canadian dollar 1.38, the Australian dollar 1.56, Mexican peso at 16.91, Chinese yuan 7.24, Japanese yen 154.57, the Russian ruble at 93.64, Thai baht 36.78, and the Turkish lira at 32.52. U.S. equity futures bumped higher this morning, while Treasury yields and the dollar have held steady as investors look to snap a three-day losing streak on Wall Street, while closely eyeing Israel's expected response to Iran's weekend missile strike. Tensions in the region, which accelerated sharply following Iran's unprecedented attack on Israeli soil, have yet to fully work their way into global markets. Oil prices have fallen for the past three sessions, and stocks largely tracking both Federal Reserve interest rate forecasts and the start of the first quarter earnings season. Stocks have risen in what seemed like a straight line over the first 3 months of this year, as the S&P 500 notched its best first quarter return in 5 years. And since the start of April, though it's been a different story, the S&P 500 has dropped nearly 4% this month, as investor hopes that the Federal Reserve will cut rates continue to fade. Boeing will be in the spotlight during back-to-back hearings today as Congress examines allegations of major safety failures in the embattled aircraft manufacturer. The first session will feature members of an expert panel that found serious flaws of Boeing's safety culture, and this main event will be a second hearing featuring a Boeing engineer who claims that sections of the skin on 787 Dreamliner jets are not properly fastened and could eventually break apart. The whistleblower's lawyer says Boeing has ignored the engineer's concerns and prevented him from talking to experts about fixing those defects. The whistleblower is Sam Salehpour, who sent documents to the Federal Aviation Administration, which is investigating the quality and safety of Boeing's manufacturing. He's scheduled to testify today before a Senate investigations subcommittee. And it is Trump Media and Technology Group stock that has fallen 14% yesterday after the company announced it's launching a new live TV streaming platform. Trump Media, the parent company of Donald Trump's social media platform Truth Social, launching the live streaming service on phones, tablets, and TV through the Truth Social app. Wall Street is surging again, and this time bank executives say it's for real. Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, Citigroup, Morgan Stanley, and JP Morgan Chase all reported first quarter jumps in investment banking, and they did so because IPOs, bond issuances, and in some cases M&A deals making beat analyst expectations. Citizens Financial reported a lower first quarter profit as it earned less from customer interest payments. Banks in the U.S. have been bracing for a turnaround in those gains from interest income as they paid more to retain customers who are in search of higher yield securities. Tesla will ask shareholders to reinstate the compensation package for CEO Elon Musk that was rejected by a judge in Delaware this year, and to move the electric car maker's corporate home from Delaware to Texas. In a filing with federal regulators early this morning, the company said it would ask shareholders to vote on both issues during its annual meeting in June. Abbott Laboratories beat Wall Street estimates for quarterly profit today and raised the lower end of its forecast as robust demand for medical procedures boosted sales of its devices, including its glucose monitoring products. Shares in Adidas rose more than 8% today, hitting their highest level in over 2 years after the German sportswear giant yesterday reported quarterly results above expectations and hiked its 2024 guidance on strong demand for its sneakers. Voting technology company Smartmatic and the far-right network One America News have said they had settled a defamation lawsuit stemming from the outlet's lies about the 2020 election. And it is several Google employees who were reportedly arrested last night at the company's offices in New York City and Sunnyvale, California, after staging sit-ins to protest the tech giant's work with the Israeli government. A new report from the advocacy group PEN America has found in the first half of this school year there have been more than 4,300 instances of book bans, more than the entirety of the 22-23 academic year. So far this year, the instances of book bans have far outpaced what was seen last year, when there was then a record of almost 1,500 bans. At least 19 women have reportedly fallen ill in 9 states after they got Botox injections in non-healthcare settings from those who were never licensed or trained to give them. The CDC reported that 9 of the 19 who became sick were hospitalized, including 4 who were treated with botulism antitoxin because of concerns that the botulinum toxin could have spread beyond the injection site. And these cases detected in Colorado, Florida, Illinois, Kentucky, Nebraska, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Washington. According to the latest First American Data and Analytics Monthly Home Price Index report, the upward trend in home prices persists in the DFW area, but at a slower pace compared to the national average. Nationally, in March, home prices saw a 6.2% increase from the previous year. However, in North Texas, the rate of price appreciation was only half as robust. Specifically, in the Dallas-Plano Irving market, prices rose by 3.3% year over year. Meanwhile, in Fort Worth, Arlington Grapevine market, prices saw a more modest increase of 2.9%. Texas is the leading state for solar energy. According to the Texas Comptroller, solar energy contributed up to 6% of the state's energy generation in 2022. Texas has installed more than 6,500 megawatts of solar generation. That is the most the state has installed nationwide, making Texas keep its numbers one spot twice in a row. A new and very tall baby has arrived at the Dallas Zoo, the newest addition to the giraffe herd. A little boy born on the 1st of April to proud parents Katie and Tibogo at the Dallas Zoo, and this new giraffe weighs 138 pounds and stands about 5.5 feet tall. Dallas Love Field and the Austin Bergstrom will be 2 of the first 4 airports where FAA will install new runway safety technology designed to prevent what the administration calls runway incursions. FAA implementing the Surface Awareness Initiative system at the first 4 airports by July. And besides Love Field and Bergstrom, that includes airports in Nashville and Indianapolis. Positive earnings from some of Europe's biggest companies have lifted the mood after markets were roiled by a more hawkish outlook for interest rates. Consumer products and services led an advance of 0.7% in the Stoxx Europe 600. President Biden is calling for a tripling of tariffs on steel from China to protect American producers from a flood of cheap imports. This was an announcement that he planned to roll out today in an address to steel workers in the battleground state of Pennsylvania. And Apple CEO Tim Cook said the company will look at manufacturing in Indonesia as he met with Indonesian President Joko Widodo in Jakarta today. Talked about the president's desire to see manufacturing in the country, and it's something that we will look at, he told reporters after that meeting. Toyota Motors recalled more than 135,000 Prius hybrid cars in Japan and suspended taking new orders for the model due to a problem with the rear door handles. The decision by World Athletics to award prize money at the Paris 2024 Games goes against the Olympic spirit and solidarity among international federations, according to the head of cycling's global governing body this morning. Athletics became the first sport to offer prize money to Olympic champions when its president, Sebastian Coe, announced last week that gold medalists in Paris will each earn $50,000. The decision took other international federations by surprise. And despite several measures, including various incentives to farmers, India is still dependent on imports of pulses from its domestic requirements. Pulses imports have almost doubled in 2023 and 24 to $3.74 billion. And it was on a breezy April evening. Some 45,000 IPL cricket fans packed into Wankhede Stadium to watch the hometown Mumbai Indians battle the Rajasthan Royals. But elsewhere in the city, hundreds of employees of Viacom 18 Media Private on a different mission, transmitting the match in 12 languages and 20 camera angles across the world's most populous country. Viacom 18, under the leadership of 61-year-old media veteran Uday Shankar, aims to expand its market influence not only in TV advertising but also in digital revenues. Strong selling by foreign funds pulled the Sensex down yesterday for the third consecutive session. and a slew of factors from escalating geopolitical tensions in West Asia to a mixed set of economic numbers from China have spooked investors globally, also affecting the sentiment on Dalal Street. Aditya Birla Group Chairman Kumaramangalam Birla has set an ambitious target for the financial services arm of the conglomerate to be among the top 3 players in each of its primary businesses: lending, asset management, insurance and payments. He said this during the launch of Aditya Birla Capital Digital's new direct-to-customer app platform. Cognizant CEO Ravi Kumar received $22.5 million as compensation for the financial year 23, as shown in the company's 24 proxy statement filing with the US SEC, and he previously served as president of Infosys, assumed the role of CEO at Cognizant in January. Digital engineering company Nagaro's revenue has crossed $1 billion in 23, up from $908 million in the year-ago period. Nagaro follows a January to December financial year, and the company recorded a growth of 9.4% in constant currency last year. It is listed on the Frankfurt Stock Exchange. Nagaro was co-founded by Manas Fuloria along with the fellow IITians and began operations in New Delhi in 1996. Rajiv Jain's GQG Partners LLC is looking to invest around $400 million in Vodafone Idea Limited's share sale that starts later this week. And it is Vande Bharat-style home-built bullet trains. India has initiated the development of an indigenous bullet train capable of surpassing speeds of 250 kilometers per hour, and this train is expected to outpace all existing trains currently operating on the Indian Railways network. The Lok Sabha election 2024 that starts in 2 days and ends with results announced on the 4th of June, and many banks in respective cities will be closed on the first election day, which is the 19th, and that will be the day after tomorrow. Some states have also declared a paid or public holiday for residents on voting day. And it is on the 19th that banks in Chennai, Dehradun, Jaipur, Kohima, Nagpur and Shillong closed due to various elections. Finance Minister of Pakistan Mohammad Aurangzeb has held meetings with the presidents of the World Bank and the Asian Development Bank, in which the former assured his full support for reforms to stabilize the economy of Pakistan and enhance revenues. Currently, he is in Washington to attend the spring meetings organized by the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. And he did meet with the World Bank President Ajay Banga and highlighted Pakistan's progress under the 9-month standby arrangement program and the ongoing reforms in priority areas of taxation, energy and privatization. And these meetings come as Pakistan has initiated discussions with the IMF over a new multi-billion-dollar loan agreement to support its economic reform program. The country is nearing the end of that 9-month $3 billion loan program, with the fund designed to tackle a balance of payment crisis which brought it to the brink of default last summer. Notwithstanding a relatively better global outlook, the IMF maintained Pakistan's economic growth prospects for the current fiscal year at 2%, which it had revised downwards in January from its previous estimate of 2.5%. The Interior Ministry in Islamabad told the Islamabad High Court that the failure of X, formerly Twitter, to address concerns regarding its misuse necessitated a ban on the social media platform. This development came as Pakistan marked 2 months of the disruption in the services of X. And a $20 per ounce jump in world gold rates pushed the local 10-gram and 1 tola prices to new all-time highs of 214,077 rupees and 249,700 rupees respectively in this news out of Karachi. The bulls tossed the benchmark index above the 71,000 barrier for the first time in the history of the Pakistan Stock Exchange yesterday, but the market came under selling pressure, snapping the 5-day record-breaking spree amid uncertainty about the outcome of talks with the IMF. And the quantum of large-scale manufacturing has risen in its third increase in a row, according to the data released by the Pakistan Bureau of Statistics today. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all I have in your financial news, but I do have the final segment of our program coming up for you. Stay with me right here. Give me 1 minute on that. The final segment of our program today, and today, ladies and gentlemen, is the 17th of April. Wishing you all a lovely Wednesday. We're back in the warm and muggy air this morning as the dry line has retreated back into West Texas. Temperatures hovering near 70 under a mostly cloudy sky. More clouds than sun today, but very warm. Afternoon highs will top out in the mid to upper 80s. A slight chance for some strong to severe storms along this dry line later today off to the west and southwest of our DFW area, and this will not affect our area. And tomorrow morning also we will start off with 70 degrees with considerable cloudiness, and then the skies will become partly cloudy by late morning into the early afternoon hours with highs again in the mid to upper 80s. But by late afternoon, a cold front will be approaching from the northwest. Scattered showers and thunderstorms, some could be severe, breaking out across North Texas. And we're looking at it right now between 4 and 9, but that's tomorrow, not today. And then, of course, when that happens, there's always large hail and damaging winds, which can also be a threat. Let's get you some stories from the annals of history that happened on the 17th of April, way back in 1790. American statesman, printer, scientist, and writer Benjamin Franklin dies in Philadelphia at the age of 84. Deeply interested in science and technology, he invented the Franklin stove, which is still manufactured today, and bifocal eyeglasses, among other practical inventions. He, of course, is a very well-known Benjamin Franklin, who died on today's date in 1790. And in 1917, as the major Allied offensive masterminded by Robert Nivelle was failing miserably on the Western Front, British forces in Palestine make their second attempt to capture the city of Gaza from the Ottoman army. Happened on today's date in 1917, and in the wake of the failed British assault on Gaza, Sir Archibald Murray, commander of the British forces in the region, misrepresented the battle as a clear Allied victory, claiming Turkish losses to be triple what they actually were. In truth, at 2,400, they were significantly lower than the British total of 4,000, and this led London's War Office to believe their troops were on the verge of a significant breakthrough in Palestine and to order Murray to renew the attack immediately. Though the previous assault had caught the Turks by surprise, the second one did not. The German general in charge of the troops at Gaza was by now well aware of British intentions, and by the time the British launched their second round of attacks on today's date, the Turks had accordingly strengthened their defenses and extended their forces along the road from Gaza to the nearby town of Beersheba. Still, as that first battle of Gaza, British soldiers outnumbered the Turkish troops by a ratio of 2 to 1. And it is as a result of this second failure to capture Gaza that the Allies called in reinforcements, including Italian and French troops, which arrived from Europe in time to join the third and final Battle of Gaza that fall. And under the new regional command, the Allies finally broke through and gained control of Gaza in November of 1917, leaving them free to move ahead towards Palestine's capital city of Jerusalem, which fell into Allied hands on the 9th of December. But it was the Second Battle of Gaza that began on today's date in 1917, almost like a deja vu here as we see the current news scenario there in the Middle East. And it was during World War II that representatives of Yugoslavia's various regions signed an armistice with Nazi Germany at Belgrade, ending 11 days of futile resistance against the invading German Wehrmacht. More than 300,000 Yugoslav officers and soldiers were taken prisoner, and only 200 Germans died in this conquest of Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia surrenders to the Nazis on today's date in 1941. It is on this date in 1945 that U.S. Lieutenant Colonel Boris Pash commandeers over half a ton of uranium at Strasfurt in Germany in an effort to prevent the Soviets from developing an atomic bomb. He was head of the Alsos group, organized to search for German scientists in the post-war environment in order to prevent the Soviets, previously allies but now a potential threat, from capturing any scientists and putting them to work at their own atomic research plants. Uranium piles were also rich catches, as they were necessary to the development of atomic weapons. So Americans seized 1,000 pounds of uranium in an effort to prevent the Soviets from developing the atomic bomb on today's date in 1945. And then, ladies and gentlemen, it was Eddie Cochran who was the man behind Summertime Blues. Killed on today's date in 1960 when the taxi carrying him from a show in Bristol in England crashed en route to the airport in London, where he was to catch a flight back home to the US. A raw and exciting rocker with a very cocky, rebellious image, Eddie Cochran was very different from the polished and packaged idols being heavily marketed to American teenagers in the years between the rise of Elvis Presley and the arrival of the Beatles. And while he may have faded from popular memory in the years since his tragic and early death, his biggest hits have not. He was on this triumphant concert tour of Britain in 1960, in this tour that had been extended 10 weeks beyond its scheduled run due to intense demand for tickets. He was killed on today's date in 1960 when the taxi carrying him from a show in Bristol in England crashed en route to the airport in London. Happened on today's date. And the Bay of Pigs invasion begins when a CIA-financed and trained group of Cuban refugees lands in Cuba and attempts to topple the communist government of Fidel Castro. The attack was an utter failure. Fidel Castro has been a concern to U.S. policymakers since he seized power in Cuba with the revolution in 1959. In his attacks on U.S. companies and interests in Cuba, his inflammatory anti-American rhetoric and Cuba's movement towards a closer relationship with the Soviet Union led U.S. officials to conclude that the Cuban leader was a threat to U.S. interests in the Western Hemisphere. And it was President Dwight Eisenhower who ordered the CIA to train and arm a force of Cuban exiles for an armed attack on Cuba. John F. Kennedy inherited this program when he became president in 1961. The Bay of Pigs invasion that began on today's date in the year 1961. We had the Ford Mustang, which is officially unveiled by Henry Ford at the World's Fair in Flushing Meadows in New York. And that same day, the new car also debuted in the Ford showrooms across America, and almost 22,000 Mustangs were immediately snapped up by buyers. Named for a World War II fighter plane, the Mustang was one of the first vehicles that came to be known as a pony car. Ford sold more than 400,000 Mustangs within its first year of production, far exceeding their sales expectations. Conceived as a working man's Thunderbird, according to Ford, the first models featured a long hood and short rear deck and carried a starting price of around $2,300. And Ford general manager Lee Iacocca, who became president of the company later, headed up Chrysler also, which he was credited with reviving in the 80s, was involved in the Mustang's development as well as marketing. And we do know that this green Mustang famously featured in the 1968 Steve McQueen movie Bullitt in a car chase through the streets of San Francisco. And since then, Mustangs have appeared in hundreds of movies. Within 3 years of its debut, some 500 Mustang fan clubs had cropped up. And in 1966, the 1 millionth Mustang rolled off the assembly line. And in honor of the Mustang's 35th anniversary in 1999, the U.S. Postal Service issued a stamp commemorating the original model. In 2004, Ford built its 300 millionth car, a 2004 Mustang GT convertible 40th anniversary model. And over the decades, the Mustang underwent numerous evolutions, remains in production even today. Debuted at the World's Fair on today's date in 1964. And the car's launch generated great interest, featured on the covers of Newsweek and Time magazines. And the night before it went on sale, the Mustang was featured in commercials that ran simultaneously on all 3 major television networks. Shifting Gears is what you're listening to from 1968 Steve McQueen movie Bullet, in that car chase through the streets of San Francisco. With the world anxiously watching Apollo 13, a U.S. lunar spacecraft that suffered a severe malfunction on its journey to the moon, safely returns to Earth on today's date in 1970. And this third manned lunar landing mission, which was launched from Florida, carrying astronauts heading for a landing on the Fra Mauro Highlands of the moon. However, 2 days into the mission, disaster struck 200,000 miles from Earth when oxygen tank number 2 blew up the spacecraft, and it was reported to Mission Control on Earth. Houston, we've had a problem here. And it was discovered that the normal supply of oxygen, electricity, light, and water had been disrupted. And it was, though, on today's date that tragedy turned to triumph as Apollo 13 astronauts touched down safely in the Pacific Ocean. Khmer Rouge troops capture Phnom Penh and government forces surrender there. The war between government troops and the communist insurgents had been raging when it was Lieutenant General Lon Nol had ousted the Prince Norodom Sihanouk in a bloodless coup and proclaimed the establishment of the Khmer Republic. And between 1970 and 75, Lon Nol and his army, the forces Armies National Khmer, with U.S. support and military aid, battled the communist Khmer Rouge for control of Cambodia. And during the 5 years of bitter fighting, approximately 10% of Cambodia's 7 million people died. When the U.S. forces departed South Vietnam in 1973, both the Cambodians and the South Vietnamese found themselves fighting the communists alone. Without U.S. support, Lon Nol's forces fought on but eventually succumbed to the Khmer Rouge. With the surrender, the victorious Khmer Rouge evacuated Phnom Penh and set about reordering Cambodian society, and this resulted in a killing spree in the notorious killing fields. Eventually, hundreds of thousands of Cambodians were murdered or died from exhaustion, hunger, and disease. Cambodia falls to the Khmer Rouge on today's date in the year 1975. And it was on the 17th of April in 2002 that ABC airs the 10,000th episode of the daytime drama General Hospital, the network's longest-running soap opera and the longest-running program ever produced in Hollywood. It had premiered on the 1st of April in 1963. Set in the fictional town of Port Charles in upstate New York and focused on the lives and loves of the staff working in the town's General Hospital. The 10,000th episode of General Hospital that aired on today's date in 2002, where Nurse Audrey receives a medal commemorating her 10,000 days of service. And among the more famous performers to appear on General Hospital over the years are Demi Moore, who got her start on the show, Rick Springfield, who became a pop star due to his soap opera fame. And other General Hospital veterans include John Stamos, Jack Wagner, and Ricky Martin. Elizabeth Taylor, a longtime fan of the show, made a cameo appearance in 1981. So on today's date, the 17th of April in the year 2002, ABC aired the 10,000th episode of this daytime drama, General Hospital. And you are listening to the old and the new General Hospital theme, the network's longest running soap opera and the longest running program ever produced in Hollywood. General Hospital. Ladies and gentlemen, those were some stories from the annals of history that happened on today's date, which is the 17th of April. I have huge thanks going out to Discount Power for their support of community radio networks. Also thanks going out to Houston EB5, the Ahluwalia Law Offices, the Wyndham Hotel in Irving, Digital X-Force, Kinzer Law, My Kolachi, Ruchi Palace by My Kolachi, Shri Vimal, Vimal's Venue, Eggholic, Mystic Mandala, and Flashbrush Productions. For those who would like to learn Indian classical vocal lessons, the Shruti Sangeet Academy is available on weekends in East Plano, and these classes are taught by certified classical vocalist and talk show host Shanta Mishra. You can explore the soul of Indian music, and they offer comprehensive curriculum with personalized instruction and immersion in bhajans, shlokas, and folk music. You can learn classical ragas. Private or group lessons are available with master vocal techniques and embrace rhythm and tal, and you can experience Indian culture like never before. Shanta Mishra's number to contact her is 612-562-4432. You can also send her an email, shantamishra10@gmail.com. And that is for those of you who would like to learn classical vocal. Color Me Safe Foundation is a family crisis management organization serving the greater Dallas area, and they've launched two new educational initiatives. One is called Ask Auntie, and the other is Sathi Support Group. Through discussion on topics such as generational and cultural gaps, cultural identity, mental health, bullying, and many more, these programs seek to empower South Asian children and families with the tools and understanding to overcome these shared challenges in a very supportive and non-judgmental space. You can contact them at colormesafefoundation.org. April being celebrated as Diversity Month, and the Chamber, the U.S.-India Chamber of Commerce, is pleased to partner with the Dallas Symphony Orchestra to promote Celebrate Diversity Night this Friday the 19th from 6 to 7 at the Meyerson Symphony Center. And this pre-concert event features performances, light snacks and drinks. And the pre-concert event is free, but you must RSVP there to attend. The Hyderabad Society of North Texas is presenting their Eid picnic this Saturday from noon to 6 at the Traffic Pavilion in Grapevine. And for more information, you can call Muhammad Hamid at 469-544-4118. This Saturday is the Pratham Dallas Fort Worth Gala, and it is going to be at the Omni Frisco Hotel. An evening that ignites minds, touches hearts, and empowers futures. You'll be mesmerized by Vidya Vox's captivating voice and vibrant electronic soundscapes as she presents a special musical performance that blends tradition and innovation. And the keynote speaker this Saturday at the Pratham Gala is going to be Krish Dhanam, a very captivating speaker mentored by the legendary Zig Ziglar. And Krish's message of hope and humor will ignite your passion for change, leaving you motivated, empowered, and ready to make a lasting impact. Guests are encouraged to incorporate a splash of Pratham yellow into their attire, and we will also be hosting a best dressed contest during the reception, as well as a social media likes contest. And over the course of the evening, you'll also indulge in a decadent meal crafted by our finest chefs, and let the conversations flow with like-minded individuals passionate about creating change. Ladies and gentlemen, your presence at the Pratham Dallas Fort Worth Gala symbolizes a child supported with opportunities needed to realize their dreams, secure job prospects, as well as embracing a brighter future illuminated by the power of learning. This is the Pratham Gala that is happening, and that is on this Saturday at the Omni Frisco. The India Association North Texas hosting a meet for the community seniors this Sunday at the Russell Creek Park from 10 to 1. You need to register at iant.org. There'll be yoga, bingo, karaoke, live entertainment, and plenty more at the Russell Creek Park on McDermott Road. And that, ladies and gentlemen, brought to you by the India Association this Sunday. Also on Sunday, Miss South Asia World 2024 with celebrity guest the Bollywood actress Pooja Batra, 1 o'clock in the afternoon at the Grand Centre in Plano. And on Sunday in the evening at 6:30, it's Bismil Ki Mehfil at the Sambuca 360 on Bishop Road at the Shops at Legacy. World Meditation Hour from 6:30 to 7:30. And that is also on this Sunday, where we focus on sending thoughts of peace and healing for the whole world. For Zoom details and to register, you can log on to the Brahma Kumari's website, bkrymeditation.us. Healing the World Through Peace, where every individual can contribute to healing the world with thoughts of peace and love. EarthX 2024, a congress of conferences being held from the 22nd to the 26th of this month at the Hilton Anatole, and you can register at earthx.org. Jeet Ka Safar with Amax, champions of the 2009 T20 World Cup cricket team, will be in Dallas on the 26th of this month. And for more information, you can call Andy at 817-883-3333. 360 Shows, Diamond Productions and 24/7 Entertainment are presenting Neetu Chandra as Umrao Jan. 3 shows of this musical play in the Broadway style, 26th and 27th, 2 dates, 3 shows at the Dallas Music Hall, and your tickets are available at Ticketmaster. The Festival of Joy is happening on Saturday the 27th of April at the Clyde Warren Park in downtown Dallas, and you can get more information at festivalofjoydallas.com. And the Festival of India by the Dallas Indian Lions Club is happening on Sunday the 28th. We do have Indian Idol's Intense Tour happening on the 10th of May at the Grand Centre. Unforgettable 90s, Kumar Sanu and Sadhana Sargam live in concert on Sunday the 12th of May. Junoon Show on the 19th of May at the Raleigh Underground. And a holistic festival. This is a 2-day festival at the Plano Nature and Retreat Center, brought to you by Mystic Mandala. And you can call Vijay if you need a booth and any other information on this 2-day holistic festival of life and wellness. Vijay's number is 972-750-1419. holisticfestivaloflife.com. Also, Badshah's Pagal Tour happening at the Curtis Culwell Center on the 14th of June, and at the Curtis Culwell Center, Shreya Ghoshal will be live on the 16th of June. Nan's Vision is presenting Dallas's Glamorous Night with Shilpa Shetty on the 29th of June. And we'll continue getting you more details as we get closer to those dates as regarding all these events. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my show for today. If you'd like to reach me directly, you can call me at 214-675-1754 or send me an email smodgill5@gmail.com.